Cbdc Assets Group back again. And today we're going to be talking about the Bank of International Settlement and their plan for their Nexus network, AKON, Akoin, and his vision for the world's largest emerging crypto market. And lastly, we're going to hear from Sopnendu Mohanty from the Monetary Authority of Singapore and his views on interoperability and Cbdc'S. Here on the Ripple Insights page, you can see they're talking about partnership, interoperability, and neutral bridge currencies to help out Cbdc'S. All the same language the central banks use. The reason I'm showing you this is because it's relevant to the last video on this, and how RippleNet's on-demand liquidity services allow financial institutions to transact in real time across multiple global markets using the digital asset XRP as a bridge currency. Bridge currency. XRP is the fastest, less costly, and more scalable than any other digital asset, making it ideal instrument in bridging two different currencies quickly and efficiently. This solution can also support the direct exchange of Cbdc'S. Here's the Bank of International Settlements Nexus page, and this is their diagram. See the banks that are destination banks, the sending banks, source gateways, the liquidity providers, and the FX provider. That's financial exchange provider. Looks very similar to this diagram from the Ripple Insights page. How many other cryptocurrencies are talking to central banks? I'll wait. Oh yeah, that's right. Maybe one, maybe two. Couple started the race, but only one left the gate. That's Ripple.
Sending money from one person to another has never been easier. That's if you're sending money within the same country. If you're sending money overseas, it can feel like an eternity. But why? Money is just data. Why does it take longer to send money overseas than it does to send an email? Well, there are three reasons. First, one currency needs to be swapped for another. Second, compliance checks are needed to prevent illicit payments. And third, different payment systems speak different languages. These steps can result in costs, frictions, and delays. Payment innovators and organizations like SWIFT are developing better solutions and standards for data and messaging. But there's still more that we can do. So, here at the BIS Innovation Hub in Singapore, we're exploring other options. One possibility is to link the successful fast payment systems that many countries use today for domestic payments. In fact, Singapore and Thailand are already connecting their fast payment systems, making money transfers happen within seconds. The European Central Bank and the Swedish Riksbank are also exploring ways they can achieve instant payments between euros and kronas. It's a positive step forward, but linking countries one by one can quickly become a challenge. 2 countries need just one link, but 4 countries need 6 links, and 20 countries need 190 links. This gets complicated and expensive. That's why the BIS Innovation Hub is developing a blueprint for a fast, cross-border payments platform. We call it Nexus for short. Nexus does 2 things. First, it connects multiple fast payment systems in different countries, thereby allowing them to speak to each other through standardized, data-rich payment messages. Second, it coordinates currency exchange between financial institutions. That means the existing domestic fast payment systems could start to provide equally fast cross-border payments, all without the sender's bank or the fast payment system having to touch another currency. Nexus is a blueprint to connect the multiple fast payment systems that exist today. We're working with the Monetary Authority of Singapore and other central banks to ensure that technology on the horizon will make it easier than ever for both businesses and individuals to send money across borders.
And that's when it hit me like, okay, we have to have our own money. And if we don't do anything else, I have to figure out a way to make that work.
Unleashing economic opportunity. One Africa, one coin. The world's largest emerging market is on the fast track for innovation and financial growth. Let's dive into the crypto project leading the charge. AKON, Akoin. Lynn Liss, Akoin. John Karas, Akoin.
Absolutely, thank you, Len. For those who are not quite sure what Acorns Vision is, I just wanted to kind of just give you a small overlay of what we're trying to do in Africa and the purpose of why Akoin was created in the first place. As I was doing my philanthropic work in Africa and doing my lighting projects, I realized from an energy poverty standpoint how much other issues that Africa was dealing with in so many words. So ultimately, coming from the energy sector, I started to visualize a lot of different things. And I noticed that a lot of in the rural areas, they really had their own economies. They had their own way of living that was completely partitioned from what was happening in the city life. And ultimately, I was like, wow, this is actually something very, very interesting, because everything that they were doing literally was collaborating back and forth from cell phones in general. But then the most craziest thing happened to me that solidified why I needed to come and be more involved in Africa on a financial side of things and be more a part of the financial sector. I got on the plane and I flew into Paris. And as you know, Africa, the west side is all ran by the French. You know, Senegal being one of the most influential ones, being ran by the French. And we have our own currency there called the CFA, which is like CFA, French-made money, right? Now, the French government prints this money for Senegal. I fly into the airport and I have a pocket full of CFA. So I'm not thinking about anything. I'm like, okay, let me go to the money exchange and I'm gonna change it over for some euro. I get to the money exchange area and the guy at the counter tells me, we can't exchange this. I'm like, what do you mean? It's French money. He's like, well, it's not worth anything here. I said, but it's CFA. It was printed by the French. You mean tell me I'm in France with French money or French printed dollars and I can't exchange it for euro? And he was like, unfortunately, this money's not worth anything here. You got to wait till you go back to Senegal and spend it there. And that's when it hit me like, okay, we have to have our own money. And if we don't do anything else, I have to figure out a way to make that work. Of course, when I went into energy, I knew anything about energy when I first came in 2014. But then I realized through the whole process of following blockchain, cryptocurrency became the craziest conversation around the world. And I thought for 2 seconds and said, you know what? Blockchain was built for a purpose, and I think it was to help me serve my purpose. And I felt at that moment that crypto would be what changed Africa and unite the masses. And that's when I, at that moment, said I have to create Akoin, which will be my own cryptocurrency for Africa, the African coin. It just happened that it sounded like AKON. The African coin, Akoin, that's how the name came up. It wasn't something I just thought about. It was supposed to happen this way, I guess.
It happened to you.
Right, it happened to me. You know, so that's when I reached out to John Karas and I said, yo, John, I need to create my own currency. You're the man. Like, you know how to put things together. He's like the scientist that knows how to put 2 and 2, 3 and 3, and just knows who to call to make certain things happen. And he really put us all together. And through that, I met Lynn, and Lynn is like my hammer. She doesn't play no games. You give her the assignment, she's coming back with it. And this right here happened to be the team. And I said, listen, we came up with this concept together. We're going to move forward, and this is going to be the creation to help Africa rebuild its future. So now me knowing that Africa itself is from a population standpoint, as you know, it's 1.2 billion and estimated to be 2 billion people in the next 5 to 10 years. 75% of that population is under 21, which are all young kids that's very tech savvy, that understands digital economy of what it is today, and they understand how to utilize cell phones on their day-to-day basic life. So I figured that has to be the target that we actually have to activate. And not only that, but we will give them all the tools that they need to be able to move on into the future to develop it, but with a currency that brings us all together. And that's how that came about.
One of the early ones that we're super excited
Before you
about.
go too far, though, I just want to go back into the cell phone minute piece.
Great.
Because there's a backstory to it, so you guys can clearly understand where that came from. In certain parts of Africa, cell phone minutes is money. Like, I know kids that have over 1 million minutes. They're like minutaires. And you can literally buy and purchase fruits, goods, t-shirts, hats from vendors literally on the street. Like, you can like something and say, I want that. If you don't have the actual currency, well, all right, cool, then give me 1,000 minutes for it. And this is an actual real transaction. So we created a mechanism within the Acorn system to where you can literally now trade your minutes for Acorns and vice versa. So it allows that. And then one of the other things that's really amazing about the functionality is a concept that we have in there called the atomic swap. Now, the atomic swap prevents what happened to me in Paris. If you have Acorns, you can literally trade that into any fiat currency that exists in the world. So it's not like you're ever going to get, turned down because you have Acorns and you want to swap it out and back and forth. So it creates that economic transaction financially to where you can really trade it into any fiat currency that exists in the world.
The head of the M.A.S, Ravi Menon, last year said that Singapore does not regulate the technology, it regulates the use cases.
What Ravi Menon really meant was technology itself is neutral. It is the business activity that poses risk, so we applied the regulations accordingly.
For the past 4 years, the M.A.S has been experimenting on blockchain technology within the framework of Project UBIN. So Project UBIN reached the phase 5 this year in the summer, and it developed a multi-currency payment network in collaboration with JP Morgan and Temasek. Can you give us a little bit more details regarding what this phase 5 of Project UBIN means?
This platform gives you the ability to transact with each other on the network digitally and directly in different currencies, which when previously you were able to do only in Singapore dollar. Now, this brings a wide range of benefits, especially when you have to do payments in multiple currencies. This can be much cheaper, faster, and around the clock. And more liquid FX market could result in better FX rate discovery, and the settlement of foreign currency denominated securities become far more simpler. In phase 5, we tested out the integration with other blockchain-based platforms to enable end-to-end digitalization across many industries and use cases, which runs on top of this multi-currency network. And this were live technical integration with transactions happening across the payment networks, the different networks. And some of the use cases we tested were, for example, delivery versus payment for settlement with assets on private exchanges. Very, very pertinent to this particular use case. Sometimes we look at use cases on conditional payments and escrow for trade finance networks, payment and integration with healthcare claims. Again, this is a perfect example where you need a blockchain-based network based on a smart contract to trigger a healthcare claim. And it could be multi-currency.
CBDCs or central bank digital currencies, which is one of the hottest topic at the moment. What is the stance of the Monetary Authority of Singapore towards CBDCs? Are you planning to develop your own digital currency soon?
I think when people talk of CBDC, they implicitly think about a retail CBDC or a non-wholesale CBDC. We have been, in particular, very, very focused on one part of CBDC, that's the wholesale CBDC. In fact, I'll argue that we are the first central bank globally to actually pick up the wholesale part of CBDC and run with multiple experiments. And there's a reason behind why we did this way, because we are a small country. Our existing payment systems has the most optimal infrastructure. I can move money from my account to my colleague account, Jacqueline's account, in 3 clicks, money with 0 cost. So there's no real driver behind retail CBDC. What really we are looking for is a wholesale CBDC, because wholesale CBDC brings a significant efficiency optimization in this whole process. And that's the reason we have been very, very vocal and very, very focused on the wholesale CBDC. In fact, I made a statement early part of the year. I don't think we should do any more experiment in the wholesale CBDC. We have done enough experiments. We should now think about going into production and get it implemented and take the benefit of all the good work done on the wholesale space globally. And this is M.A.S. example, but I have an exactly opposite example for you. Let's take the example of Cambodia. And the example I would like to bring in is the Cambodia's Bakong project. And today, if you go to their website, you will see it says the Bakong project is actually a real-time gross payment system.
So DBS, which is Singapore's largest commercial bank and the largest commercial bank in Southeast Asia, is going to launch its own cryptocurrency exchange, which is going to be regulated by the M.A.S. So what do you think is going to be the impact of this launch on the whole Southeast Asia cryptocurrency market?
You're referring to that, supposedly they're launching a cryptocurrency exchange. Look, this is a natural progression in any innovation. And there has been a very clear growing interest in digital assets, and there's a definite need for custody service for digital assets. And I've been talking about it for the last 2 years, that as these digital assets are coming through in different forms and shape, there's a need to think about a very, very recognized custody service for these assets, with all the hacks and all the complex process which goes behind it. So it's only natural for a financial institution like DBS to look to capture this opportunity of providing custody service for digital assets. And there'll be greater competition in this space. I think if DBS is thinking about it, definitely that's a very smart thinking, and different institutions will have a different level of operational scale, and they'll provide different kind of services to provide the necessary custody need for such assets. As we always hear, that fintechs are always pushing banks out of their comfortable traditional finance space, and it's very encouraging for us to see DBS to think about such new areas where they can add value and create a new service. And this is truly a sign of the maturity of the Singapore's fintech sector. And I always said the fintech sector in Singapore will be quite unique from the rest of the world, because here we don't see the difference between fintechs and the bank. To us, both are complementary. They come together, they work together. In some cases, fintech are providing a competing financial services, and if they do, we have regulation to regulate them. In most cases, fintech are working with the bank so that banks can launch innovative product, banks can digitize faster, and that's a healthy sign of a partnership. So we are quite thankful to our ecosystem to show that those maturity in thinking as we progress forward.
Here's the Bank of International Settlements Nexus page, and this is their diagram. See the banks that are destination banks, the sending banks, source gateways, the liquidity providers, and the FX provider. That's financial exchange provider. Looks very similar to this diagram from the Ripple Insights page. How many other cryptocurrencies are talking to central banks? I'll wait. Oh yeah, that's right. Maybe one, maybe two. Couple started the race, but only one left the gate. That's Ripple.